Hello, this is Lena making Bespoke Craft Designs. I'm back to you with a flip through of the journals that I made using up my bits of scraps and things in my stash. So I'm going to do a flip through. I've got 5 little mini journals that I want to go through because I haven't done the same thing in them all. Because I didn't, I had different things to use up, so I've done them slightly different. They're all the same size, but I've put different things in them. So I'm going to move some away so it doesn't look so cluttered. And then we'll start with this one. So this one here, I still used scrapbooking papers, and then what I've done is I've gone in with some of my papers that I've put over the top. That's the back, just to partially cover the back. And then at the front, I've done some mixed media papers. I love playing with mixed media, so I did some mixed media papers with quite a lot of different textures and things on it. And then I did a video on the faux vellum, and I thought, well, I'll put one of the faux vellum flowers on the front and secured it with a brad. And I've done the same with a leaf out of a book. I've then used vellum at the back, and it's all 3D. And these are some little discs that I made. I got a new circular punch and I went mad punching out bits so that I could use them, and then for ages they just sat in a box and I never used them. So I decided to make some little discs, and I hadn't put them in anywhere, so I thought, well, I'm going to use some of those up. So I've just put those with different bits of material and a little bit of a lace doily in the middle, and there's a little bit of lace at the back. I don't glue everything down. As long as it's really secure, quite often leave things loose, just how I like them. I've also put a piece of ribbon, and it's secured under this paper so you can't see it. So you can't see the stitching. Well, you can just a little bit at the end, you can see the stitching. The first thing I did, and I did do these on screen, I did these little booklets. And this one, it's got some of my wording in, because the whole point of doing these was to use things up, but because of the situation we found ourselves in, I wanted to write myself some positive things. Because I put quite a few different bits in, some of them than others, I thought, well, I'll still show you. So I've started to write on this one because I'm keeping this one for myself. I like to do one of these little booklets, and I always like to put little notepads in, and I always include a bit of something that is vintage. I do photocopy a lot of the vintage stuff, but I also put some bits in, and I like to put a date somewhere within it of the piece I'm using. So these are just all the bits of papers. And then in the back of here, still in this little booklet, I've made just a little flip up there with a pocket on, and I've hand sewn it and just put some a rose and a bee on it. And then underneath I've got the 23rd of July 1900, because that was one of the dates on the vintage letter, so I like to put that on there. And then there's just a little tiny card that goes in there, and I just love these. I just think these are really sweet. Sometimes I fasten them down. This one's been fine, it's only because I've opened it now. It does lay quite flat. At the front I've used some layering and some mixed media in the background, and then on here this is a bit of like bark, and it's off a real old vintage book that I bought it, and it was absolutely, the spine of the book was absolutely disintegrated. It had gone completely, and it was all in little bits like this, but the pages were so lovely I still bought it. And even though it was falling apart, it was quite an expensive book, but I liked it, so I still bought it. And so I've been putting these little bits on. I think I've about used them up now. And then this side, it's a page, and it was one that was too short, so I've added another piece in, quite long, and then folded it over so you get a nice flip. And again, I've used up some of my pieces that I had, this big bug that I had, and then I've used some real little tiny ephemera and just made them into like little journaling cards. Just covered them all on the back and decorated them up with a bit of lace, and this one's got a bee on it, and they all fit in there, and they're all tiny, but I just thought they were quite cute, so I've put those in there. I've left room on here so you can write if you want to write on it. That bends down, and then on this side I've still left some of the wording on there because this was out of a James Herriot book, and it was quite, I've put some little bits in each one about his life as a vet, and I just left it so it's sort of readable. You can actually see that bit, but the piece I added on was a flower book. That was one of my I don't know whether it's tea staining that or coffee staining with avocado. You see it? There you go. And it's bumpy because I'd put it on a tray, and it's got a raised area. And I think I'm just about finished them, but I loved those papers. And then there's more of the avocado showing on there. I've used a bit of, I was using a flower punch, and I've used the negative space just to make a little bit of a trim down that edge. I like to do that. I like to use the negative space. That's one of my faux vellums that I've put in, and that's just a book page, one of my pages that I've done. Plenty of room for writing, just some little bags that I've cut down. This one is an Edith Holden. Oh, I've taken 2 or 3. This is an Edith Holden page, and there's an interesting bit about adders in there, and I thought, oh, I'm going to put that in because I quite liked that, so I've put that in there. And I've just secured, and I'm not sure which, don't think these are Artie Mays. I'm not sure. I've just put a bit of a cut off that I had, a bit of trim down here, and a bit of other paper on there, and a bird on the front of this. I'm not sure whose these were, because when I first started, I didn't sort of keep all the artists together, so I'm not sure where that one's come from, but I did really like it. It's been there ages. I thought I'd use it up. I've made some little tiny paper clips, so I've just clipped that on there with that. I don't know where that's just come from. I don't think that was on this other side. I just pulled it out so I'm not sure where that one was. Just some more writing space, and the other side of the Edith Holden. Now this one here, I think I did this one on screen. In the background is one of my papers. I've used a tag and tore the edges just to give a different effect, put a butterfly on, and I've stuck everything down so it looks like it's a pocket with things in, but it's all stuck down just to make the page a bit interesting. And then this is the middle of the signature. That's where that's come from. And what I've done with this one, I've just folded it over and secured it at the sides, and it started off as just a black and white paper on that side, and it was just writing on here, so I've coloured it all up. I think I did this one, I'm sure I did this one on screen. And then I went in with some stamps and just did some stamping. There's a bee and a bird and some leaves and things in the background there. I did some black and white washi tape with swallows on just to bring in the black and white. And then, as I explained when I did it, I like to strengthen, like this flower here, it's covering this piece, but it's also going over, so I like to strengthen it so it doesn't bend and it stands off a little bit. I quite like that idea. But this side I've just put the bird down. Got a bird on the middle strings there, and I've left them so you can put more on or cut them off if that's what you want to do. And then I've just put some bits of cards that I had, and I've just decorated them up a little bit more because they were quite plain. And that one's just got coffee splashed on it and some avocado, so it's not being covered as such. But I've added a bit of stamping to this original one, which I think was off Graphic Fairy. So, and then I've put that one in there as well. This one was just fairly plain, and I've just put a bit more stamping on it, and one of the Tim Holtz numbers that I really like, and it's got some tea staining paper on the back, so that fits in there. This is definitely one of Artie May's, and I've just put a bee on it and a little bit more stamping, a little bit of fabric on the top of there. It's like a fabric lace, and just popped that in there. And I've decorated this with a bit of paper out the Edith Aldrin, and this was some die cuts of some ivy, and I've just put a little bit here and there just to use it up. I've got this just had a background of flowers, and I've just put a bug on it and some of my papers and a lovely bird on there. With the side of the Edith Holden, some coffee staining and some music paper. A bag again. And one of my papers there. Then this one, I had some little discs that were from Shabby Dabby Doodah, and I've just left a little bit. I've glued this side down, left a little bit open so I could put a journaling card in there, and I've just laid it up with little bits that I had. Again, there's a number on there. There's one of I think there may be Tracy Fox's labels, or there might be Shabby Dabby Doodahs. I think actually the Shabby Dabby Doodahs. I don't think I've got any that would tell me. I don't like to say it's the wrong person really, but I've cut them up, so I don't know. I will learn from that and not do that in future. I'll make sure I leave them so I know exactly whose they are, but I do use both of theirs. And that just slips in there. It doesn't go that far in, it just slips in. So that's something that I haven't done in the mall. And then again, that's just one of my papers, and it's just a photocopy of my coffee dying on the back. And some, oh, what's happened there? That's that one. That's just the vellum, and that's a piece of that paper again. And then that's the back paper. I did these belly bands in one of my first videos, and then some of these little faux envelopes with plenty of writing space in the back there, and they just fold over and slip in the back. So that's one. I'm not going to fasten them up at the moment, I'll leave that till later. This one says welcome to my garden. Again, the background, it's a leaf paper that was a 12 by 12 scrapbooking paper, and then I've covered it with some mixed media paper that I've done up just from some sheets that I wouldn't have used, so I've repurposed those. I've used a trim along the bottom, like a punch, one of these punches to punch like a lace pattern along the bottom. I've covered, after I've sewn my signature, I've put this mixed media piece on. I haven't put much more on the back because it has got quite a lot of detail. I've just put this little bit of lace on and left that showing. It's got quite a lot of detail on there. This is done with the Magicals, and then I've stamped over it. And this side I've just laid it up with some of the vellum that I was trying out that I'd embossed. So I've got an embossed flower on some of the faux vellum, and just some little bits, and a bird, and one of these discs again, so that the ribbon is hidden under all this. Oops. Now this one's the same as I did in the first one. There's one of these in the mall, but they're all slightly different. This one's got, what's it got in the back? I'll just show you the backs of them. They've still all got the little pocket in the back, and this one's got just a little bug in the back, and some sunflowers and some beads. Bees, not beads. That's a piece of original. That's a piece of original. And that's original there. I'm just looking, I don't know where the date is on this one. I usually, as I say, I put a date on. There is one somewhere, but I can't just see it. Well, it should be there somewhere. Oh, that's strange. It'll probably be, I'm flipping through and can't find it. I'll have to look where I've put the date on that one. And they're stuck down at the front. There's a piece here and bits stuck in, but and a big beep stuck on the front, but they don't come out then, they're just stuck down. On this page I've used a book page, and I've just got a tag and I've stuck the tag down. It's not one that comes out, it's just to give writing space. Again on here I've got some paper that I've just cut round, or torn round I think, and left for writing space. This was a piece of out of a flower book, and I've just put a bee paper clip, left the yellow side of the paper clip showing on there. I've just decorated this up with some flowers and a bird. And here's some of my Eco Dame paper that I did on this one, and that's to leave for writing space. This is music paper that I've sewn on some of them, but on this one I've just stuck it down, a piece of the faux vellum to make a pocket, and just put a journaling card in there. That's a piece of my Eco Dame paper as well. That's a different coloured one, a yellowy one, and just put a mushroom on. This is a piece out of a diary. It isn't Edith Holden, I'm not sure what that one is. This is the other side of the Eco Dame paper, and I just used a stamp just to put a little bit of interest on. Some more writing paper. This has got all mopping up inks on. So this is the middle of the signature. Again on this one I've got the flowers overlapping, and in the background I've got some leaves and some, well, two lots of leaves. I've just covered a ticket and popped that in there, and I liked this little lady. I think these were Mrs. Cox, and I've just got her in there as well just to bring a bit of yellow in, and I liked that in there. And then this one I've just got, this was the original where on the front I've cut that bee out. It was one of these cards, so I've just left it whole on this one and slipped it in there. I've got the leaf overhanging again there. And then just some of the papers that I've been mopping up with, and then I've done a bit of stenciling on. And some writing paper. That's the other side of what I said was like a diary page. And then this one is the other side of the vellum, and I've just got one of my tags in there. I've decorated up. Let's get that, oops, back in there. I think it went that way. And I've just put some little bits of paper on here to have some room for writing on. And these bits are all stuck down, but they're to look like they're, you know, they've got bits slipped into them. This one's just like a little to show underneath, a little flower, and it's the lady. I think that's a Mrs. Coggs design as well. And it's just, there's writing space on there, and then underneath it reveals a flower. I thought that was quite nice. I get doing things, and the things I've never done before, and I'm not sure where I've seen them because you know, I hadn't planned to do those. And this is in the back of the book. This is the one like in some of the fronts of the books where I've made the page extra long, flipped it open, plenty of room here for for writing space, and I've just stenciled in the background and used some collaging on the side. When it flips over, it's got a little ticket there. When it opens up, there's a little bit of space for writing on there, and it's got a B underneath, and that's just edged with some linen. And then in the back on the belly band, it's just one of the little faux envelopes with quite a lot of room for writing. So that's number 2. So I won't go all the way through the others. I will show you the different fronts. If they're all the same, I'll just go over them a little bit faster so I don't bore you all to tears. This one again has got different colour mixed media on the front, and then I've used some decoupage onto a linen tag, and I've stuck it down with some lace on the top and a little bit of the bobbly effect on this one here. But it's all stuck down, and quite a lot going on the back. I really love the effect of that one with the different stencils that I've used with. It's only gesso, so it's only slightly raised, but it looks, you know, the dimensions beautiful on it. And again, the colours are out of the sprays and the mica powders. I've tucked the trim underneath this, and it's made it very, very strong. It ain't going to go anywhere. And then I've put some brads at the front and the back, and I've secured those down as well. They're all secured down under this piece here, so you don't see anything. So there's a pink one at the front. I think this one's my favourite, this front cover. I love this one. And then we've got one of these again that we've had in every one, just the little booklet. And this one I've just decorated up the page. I loved this woodpecker, and I used the I cut him out on his log, so I've just left that on there. Some of my coffee dyeing papers, and again all my different papers, a bag in there again. And in this one of my vellum pieces, I've just put, I think this was out of an Artie Mays kit, and I've just added some other little bits on it just to give it a bit more interest, just to fit in with the theme, and plenty of room for writing on the back. I've left this side of my eco dyeing paper with plenty of room for writing on, and just put a little bit of interest on this page. That's a bit out of a book, and I've covered this side to leave you room for writing. I've got a bird on a milk bottle, and I've just left it so it's got a little tuck-in area, and put one of these butterflies tucked in there, room on the back. You could write on the back of this because it's really pale as well if you wanted to, and there's room on this card. It's just a mop-up paper that I had. This is the centre of the signature. Now this one I haven't done down the edges. You could do if you wanted to, but I didn't. I've left some room in there. I've done one of these cards again, and some coffee dyed paper on the back, and this was one of the collage tags that I did, and then I've put one of the butterflies on it, and I've used some of the Nuvo drops to make the antennae, so they really stand off, and it looks really effective. I usually draw them in, or sometimes I sew them in, but I'm trying to use up all the things that I found when I was tidying up, so I've used some of that. And then that was just, I just adore these birds, so I wanted to use, this was just a tiny piece on the page, and so I've made a really tiny little strip, covered it on the back, and that just fits in there. That would be lovely as a little bookmark, because when I take a journal on holiday, I always put a bookmark in mine because I'm reading all the time, and then I always write on the back of them what books I've read while I was away on holiday, and then I keep it in the journal. This one was just a piece of coffee dyeing that I've just made into a journaling space. It was lined on this side, so I coffee dyed it on this side and mopped up a little bit on this side, and then just put some flowers and some little bits on it just to decorate that one. So they've all got a reasonable thing, but as I say, I was using up different things. I've got one of the birds here, and I've just made it into a little little tuck there. Again, you could write on the back. And then this is just one of my doilies that I've photocopied and just stuck it down onto the back of one of the papers out of the James Herriot book. I've just got some pieces of paper that I've put on this bird book just to give some writing space. And then I've put another little piece here as a tuck, and I've taken one of these tickets and just covered it on the back. And one of these again, I don't know if this is Graphics Fairy or Mrs. Cogs, and it's just got quite a lot of bug life going on there, and so I really liked that, and it's got one of my papers on the back. That's the Eco Dame paper that I did, a bit of washi, just I would imagine probably there was a bit of a split, so I've put some washi on. And these are the pockets with the faux vellum again, and I've just done some collaging on the card that goes in there, it peeps out. That's one of the bags. Some music paper, and one of my papers that I've photocopied, some more Coffee Dame paper, and then this is just a music sheet. It's got a tag on here as well that's secured down just to give a different kind of a writing space. And then I've got one of these flips at the back, and this one has got a journaling card, but it's open there, and it's got two more little journaling cards just pushed inside. So I'm going to put those back in there like that. Ooh. Yeah, that's it. And then on the back, that's the belly band again, and I've got a bird on this side. I think I did these in one of my earlier videos, and it's just the writing space on the back that flips down, and it's got some layers underneath. That's that one. Oh, I've still got two more to do, but I think these are pretty much the same, just slightly different. The front, I've just done some of my photocopying of the linens that I had, and they had these flowers on. I thought how pretty they were. I made one of these with some crocheted doily and some other little bits of lace, and put a lace flower on the top of this one, and one of the wordings again. This one's the word inspire. It tells you about inspire. And then I had some of this trim with these little pearl buttons on, so I've put that on the edge of there. I really love those. And this one, I haven't put any kind of a tie on it because that is quite heavy and it's holding it down at the moment. I mean, if it got filled and it got too heavy, you could just put a tie on it. I've left the back pretty plain. And then inside, we've got one of these again. This one, I've used some of the faux vellum, and I've just folded it in half and torn the front bit to make it into like a little pocket. The back is where the glue is, but you can't see it, and the front obviously is where you tuck everything in. And I've just put a little flower over the top there. I've enforced this bird, I've put some backing on it, and I've cut the shape of the bird out, which I thought looked quite effective, and I've just got that poking out of there. And then I've got another little journaling card just fitting in there too, and the little bee just pops out the side. So that's slightly different to what it is in the others. That's just a book page out of flowers, flower book. I've used another page with an owl on the front, and I've made it into a little flip, and there's some more little bits of pages in there. I quite like that idea. And then there's just the James Herriot. I've got a little, this is on an Edith Holden. I've just put a card in here. I've had these cards forever, I don't know where they came from, and I've just put a flower on the top and a bird, and I've just done a bit of stamping on the back. I've got that just on there with one of my little altered clips, paper clips, and that just goes on there like that. And then some papers again. That's all just to give the page a little bit of interest, but it's all stuck down. This is the inside. This is a Shabby Dabby Doodah journaling space, so that goes in there. And then this one is one of the journaling cards that I cut down, and I've just kept that bit for a little tiny bit of journaling space. The middle of this one is slightly different. It's got a little bird, and I've left the strings so you can either cut them off or tie them or do whatever you want. I've left this paper just with the housekeeping accounts sheet. This is a vintage sheet. I've got some washi tape down the middle, and I've just folded that over. You could do with that as you wanted. This is one of my eco dye papers with the faux vellum the other side, and just a little card in there for writing on. I think that's about everything. Oh, this is one of the vellum, faux vellum, and I'd put some, it's just the white faux vellum, and I've put the butterflies underneath it. I think you probably can see it, but it's dulled the image right down just for a bit of interest. And then I've put some faux sewing over it just with a pen. And then I've got one of these flips again with quite a lot of things going on, and some little tags and bits in the back. There's 3 little tags, and the belly band's got the space for writing again in the faux envelope. So last but not least, and then we're done. I am going to give one of these away, but not just yet. I'm going to give one away on my Instagram account, but because I've got 500 followers on there, I'm going to wait till I've got a few more followers, and then do a giveaway on my YouTube as well. Because at the moment, as I say, I don't sell them, so I get so much pleasure out of making them, and I would like, I'd like to see somebody else get some pleasure out of them as well, so I thought I'd give some away. This one has got more of the page showing from the scrapbooking page. I've just got some different papers in the background, and some lace and some different materials going on, and just a bird. And then this was a real old napkin that I fussy cut a flower out, and then put a button on there as well with a bit of old cotton in. Got one of these again with the papers in and the date on. I don't know if there's anything different in this one. Oh, this one's just got a little tuck with some flowers on, and just one of my little tags in there. And this one is just one of my papers that I've had quite a lot going on with, different paints and things, and then I've done a bit of stenciling and put a bird on it, and then I've just got one of the paper clips on there. And this is the faux vellum again in the middle part of the signature, with just some different journaling cards on them. And I'm not sure there's a lot else going on that's any different in this one. I mean, they've all got different images on because I didn't have a lot of the same. This is the flip through. I think I probably did this one when I was doing one of my videos, and I put some lace down this one. This back one, this has some of the tiny die cut flowers, and I've done a bit of sewing on this one, and inside it was a paper, but there's enough out of a book, but there's enough room to still write on there, and it's got one of the numbers printed on a piece of old paper. And I've just got that in the belly band. So I'd love to hear what you think about them. I mean, if you'd leave me a comment, I'd be over the moon. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. and I'll be back to you shortly with some more videos. Keep safe. Bye for now.